Snaking its way through the countryside of Southern Virginia, this beautiful 3.2-mile strip of asphalt has been around since 1957. But now, for the second time in 3 years, the Virginia International Raceway is home to the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. It's the final day of racing for the 59th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. This broadcast brought to you by Mazda. Welcome, everybody, to GT-3, a race we've been long anticipating as we're in the final afternoon of racing here. And as you can see, it is a very wet and rainy Virginia International Raceway. The weather has been a factor literally all weekend long. If anything, this is a better situation because the track is pretty much universally wet. We've had a lot of races this weekend where the track starts out dry, then gets wet, where the track is wet in some portions but not others. This one is going to be wet all the way around, so these drivers and teams will at least have some idea what they've got in front of them for the race to come. Sitting next to me is Lefty McLeod, and down in the pit lane is Hayward Wagner. Lefty, this is an interesting mix. 29 gold medals in this 13-car field.
Oh, there are legends up and down in this field, in this race, to get multiple champs in recent years, but I really want to hear from Hayward on what he sees down on the grid as they've all had to make tire choices.
For those of you who haven't been with us before, this is a 3.27-mile, 17-turn circuit. The second time the runoffs have been here. Lefty, take us around the track.
Sure. The first sector is where most of the twisting happens. That's going to be through that turn 1 all the way through the NASCAR left at 3, and then the left hook at 4. A lot of treacherous pavement in there, but we could see some passing. They'll get through the snake, the lower S's 5 and 6, and then make the run through 7, 8, 9, and it's going to be fast for these cars coming up through there. See if they have any grip around the south bend at turn 10. When they get to the other end, all the way at 12, around the old oak tree, it's treacherous. It's tiptoeing to try and get a run off of that turn 12 onto the back straight Madison Avenue. But then we might see some drafting on these low horsepower cars all the way to I say low horsepower cars, but relative to GT ranks, they are. But there could be some passing going up into the top of the roller coaster, come down the roller coaster, and they'll hit that famous hog pen bend, which has been treacherous the last couple of races here today, and one more run down another long straightaway on the front straight.
The third member of our broadcast team down on the false grid is Hayward Wagner. Hayward, what's the news?
The news is not news, it's raining. We've got true real rain again back here in VIR. A lot of guys are going out on the Hoosier full wet, which looks more like an intermediate than the Goodyear. The Goodyear actually looks more like an off-road tire. It's really a chunky pattern. A couple of cars I want to point out that everybody on the grid is talking about. The first one is the 09 right here. This is Tony Riviera. This is a car that Tony watched in the runoffs at Road Atlanta in 1990 and fell absolutely in love with. He's kept up with it for 32 years. It finally came for sale. He bought it and is racing it here at the runoffs. The other car that everyone's talking about is the one with the lights flashing. That's Alex Mayer. He won Formula Atlantic yesterday in the wet. That's a TCR Audi. It's front drive, and it is running on the spec line for that car. The balance of performance requires it to run on the Yokohama Advan AO52. That was the tire he qualified on. That's the only tire he can run, and he is thanking his lucky stars that his front-wheel drive street tire GT3 car is going to be running in the wet.
Great insight, Hayward. Thanks so much for that invitation. Again, that's just one of the stories in this jam-packed 13-car field for GT3, and we are looking forward to this with all sorts of former champions in the field. We've only got one rookie among the 13 cars. Everybody else has got runoffs experience. In some cases, lots of it. Michael Lewis, this is his 39th. He started the weekend with 39 starts in the runoffs, and he's had a couple already.
Start.
Yeah, exactly right. Michael Lewis has been in multiple classes. He's a 10-time national champion, and he could also win the super sweep. I don't believe we've had a super sweep yet this year, and he would be an opportunity. If he can win this race, he will take home the super sweep, which is winning the U.S. majors in your conference, winning the Hoosier Super Tour, and winning the runoffs. Yeah. It is a tall order for sure.
And we'll see if those good years that he's got can be any advantage to him, or the Hoosier cars that are out there. Interesting with those different mixes, but that TCR, piloted out there by Alex Mayer is going to be very interesting. He's starting deeper in the field. He's back there a couple rows back from where Dernehl and Ermish and Ave and Lewis are, but that car is what we all think it is. There could be a pretty good advantage for him coming off the corners in the front track. Look at the size of that car. But I talked to him yesterday after his Atlantic win, and he was just saying, man, a little bit of moisture is all we need. We just need a little bit. Well, I think he got his wish, so let's see if he can make it pay off and have the patience to keep that car on the track. But it's not going to be easy because, as you say, a lot of veterans in this field that are going to make it tough for that young kid to try and have a chance.
Yeah, the vast majority of these GT3 cars are tube frame full race cars with silhouette bodywork. But that Audi, no doubt, that is a production-based car. So it is sort of the odd man out, and we'll see what kind of success he's going to have. That would be one I might place a little side bet on that car. Let's introduce the 13 starters for you. Alone in row 7 is car 15. That's Brian Haupt out of Spring Hill, Kansas, in the Kansas City region in an RX-7. Dave Dobry will start outside of row 6. Dave out of Plymouth, Michigan, in the Detroit region in an Eagle Talon. Then we go to the inside of that row, the number 91 of Ken Nelson out of Novi, Michigan, and the Detroit region in a Nissan 200 SX. The father of a father-son team is in the outside of row 5. The 33 of Blake Wilson out of Inglewood, Tennessee, racing out of the Atlanta region in his RX-7. Next to him, the now two-time Formula Atlantic National champ in the 77 car, Alex Mayer out of Harleysville, Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia region in that Audi RS3 LMS. Outside of row 4, car 47, the son of Blake Wilson, Stacy Wilson, out of Inglewood, Tennessee, in the Atlanta region, in his Mazda RX-7. And the only rookie in the field will start in row 4, the 37 of Warren Montague, out of Midlothian, Virginia, in the Washington, D.C. region, in a Toyota Celica. Tony Rivera in that car that he fell in love with, the Mazda RX-3. That's the 09 car out of Oceanside, California, in the San Diego region. And then we move up to inside of row 3, the 41 of Joe Kristensen out of London, Ontario, in the Detroit region. He is the 2015 champion of this class at Daytona, I believe, in his Honda Civic SI. We talked about Michael Lewis, the 10-time national champ, most recently this class in 2020. He is picked by Sports Car to finish on the podium in the number 32. Michael out of Poway, California, and the Cow Club in a Mazda RX-7. Tony Ave will start inside him in that second row in the number 44 car out of Maiden, North Carolina. This is a home track for Tony. He is a two-time national champ in his own right, finishing atop the box in 2020 in GT1. Troy Ermish inside of row 1, also picked by Sports Car to be on the box in the 38 car out of Tracy, California, and the San Francisco region, a two-time and defending champion of this class in his Nissan 350Z. And your pole sitter, the number 63 of Jeff Dernehl out of Roswell, Georgia, and the Atlanta region in his Mazda RX-7. He is the 2019 champ of this class when it ran here at VIR.
One to note there, Stacy Wilson actually is the father. Blake is the son.
My bad.
Want to make sure that the
we got him
Wilsons
backwards.
are getting that, but we got that fixed. No big deal. And they'll be out there in the rotaries. Also interesting is Blake in the white RX-7 first-gen body is running Stacy Wilson's old car. So they bring two cars, one a first-gen Silhouette, the other a second-gen. But those cars side by side, it's great to see them. They were, I believe, 3rd and 4th on last year's result in Indy. So those guys, you never know, they'll be sticking around and maybe try and sneak a podium at the end of this. That number 91 there. I believe that's Ken Nelson, been at this a while as well in his little 200SX body on that little Nissan. I love the variety of body work on this in this field, and I love the paint job on Dernehl's RX-7.
Exactly right. I don't know if that's soul red, but it's pretty close to it. The official color of Mazda. As the front row lines up, Jeff Dernehl and Troy Ermish in the front row. Look at the spray being kicked up by these cars. Visibility is going to be a factor. Traction as well. They're past the acceleration zone, and we're green. Ermish gets a good jump, but the RX-7, yeah, finally gets up on the cam, as though it doesn't have cams, and down the inside he comes. Does anybody overcook it here at the first turn? Michael Lewis in the 32 sweeping around the outside, trying to get up into 3rd spot, as he's going side by side with Tony Ave.
Yeah, it looks like the Goodyear's trying to find a little bit of traction on the outside of one there for Lewis. Able to make that stick, get around Ave, but there we go. Kind of what we thought. Alex Mayer, that's him in that number 77, that TCR Audi. You can see him just kind of walking around these guys who seem to be tiptoeing.
Troy Ermish there in the second spot as Jeff Dernehl repassed him and got back at the front. Michael Lewis in third, and already up into fourth spot is Alex Mayer in that GT3 Audi. As they work their way through the snake for the first time, and already side-by-side racing action. He's up to third, going for second.
He's got so much grip coming off the corners, just planting the power down with those front wheels spinning, and already in second, as you said, unbelievable early on. Dernehl is doing everything he can to get away from this to see if he can get a bit of a gap. I just don't know if he can avoid it at this point.
What a great run already for Alex Mayer, already a champion this weekend as he took his second national championship in Formula Atlantic. And can he add a GT3 national championship? But a little, I thought he was gone. He was absolutely sideways, but was able to catch it as that 37 car of Warren Montague making his first start in the runoffs.
He's had a bit of a rough week, some electrical issues, he's been fighting a lot of gremlins. He thinks he might have had it fixed out here, but if not, he's going to be limited on revs as this race progresses, so keep your eye on him. But yeah, look at Mayer.
Flashing his headlights.
He'll have a pretty good top speed in that car as well relative to the rest of this GT3 field.
Flashing his headlights, trying to unsettle Jeff Dernehl a bit. Dernehl, a veteran campaigner, though, the 2019 champion of the class here at VIR. But I don't think he was fighting against a front-wheel drive TCR car when he won that battle.
He was not. It was a pretty good battle among a few different contenders, and Jeff able to get that win. But right now, yeah, his mirrors, as small as they are full of Audi right now. Look at the size difference between these two cars.
Unbelievable. The RX-7 does have some grunt, no question about it. He's got some good straight line speed, but there's nobody that's going to be able to run with Alex Mayer with that front-wheel drive Audi.
And the Audi does also have ABS traction control, which in these conditions, although I've heard the traction control may not be the most useful, but it can't hurt you, at least it didn't sound like. But the ABS certainly helpful in these braking conditions. Look at him just in that spray behind Dernehl.
Dernehl's car looks like a toy car.
There's Kristensen in the 41.
Yeah, Joe Kristensen off in his Honda Civic, doing a 720 there. As turn one caught another driver out, as it looked like Alex Mayer tried to make a move there at left hook, turn number 4, but thought better of it. He realizes he'll want to live for another day. He should have plenty of opportunities.
He's an energetic young man. I'm sure he's anxious to get on by, but being lap 2 of a 15-lap race, patience can be his friend.
We talked about him as he jumped out of the car after winning his second Formula Atlantic championship. The kid has got a perennial smile on his face. He's absolutely, the kind of young man you'd like to have in your race car. And he is definitely showing he's got the stuff in a tin top as well as an open wheel machine.
This would be interesting if that mist at all were to slow and start to change the dynamic of this race, because Mayer's being very patient right now, but I think he's got opportunities if he wanted to shove one in, but doesn't need to. But last time through, their speed differences were about 8 miles an hour faster, and there he goes, just around the slowest part of the track. But as he gets that thing opened up down the straightaway, you watch, he'll open that gap.
In the dry, Dernehl's car is 5 seconds a lap faster than the Audi, but in the wet, the tables are turned. And Dernehl doing a great job staying with the Audi that is definitely at an advantage. Here's where Dernehl's car will come into its own, because he's got great straight line speed, and he might be able to repass as they get up to the run to the roller coaster, but not the case, as Alex Mayer out in front. And if the conditions stay where they are, he could well disappear into the sunset.
21 mile an hour faster in the speed trap was
Wow.
Mayer over Dernehl. Yeah, that car is a bit of a rocket in a straight line.
Michael Lewis in the 32 running in fourth, just outside the medal positions right now. Stacy Wilson up in front of him. Stacy, the elder of the Wilson family. I apologize for reversing he and his son Blake.
Of course, Stacy and Michael running very similar cars in that second-gen RX-7 body with the rotary power plants. Michael and his team have been pretty busy this week. That car does double duty. It runs a GT Light and a 12A rotary, and here he gets to run the 13B. So they do power plant swaps at least twice during the week to do the different qualifying days. He did not have the result that he wanted in the GTL race, I'm sure, but he's had victory here before in GT3. He would love to be back there on that podium again.
But like a lot of these drivers who are running in multiple classes, Michael's had a chance to experience this track in dodgy, wet conditions like this, so he knows where the dry line is.
That GT1 race had its moments, and he was out there in the traditional Jag. But you can see there now with Stacy Wilson trailing son Blake. Stacy must have had a bit of an off there. That's got him back in the 6th spot. But now he's pressuring his own kid. Let's see if the veteran skills come in over the youth and exuberance.
Old age and treachery, I think, is the quote as they work their way through left hook. Coming on to
the visibility in Stacy's car looks pretty bad. Like I could see through the windscreen there on a brand new windshield for Blake. He was telling me that windshield cracked when the fender came off on day 3 qualifying, so it's got a standard street car windshield on it. But he can see he's got tons of fresh Rain-X on there. Stacy, on the other hand, I was not able to see much through there, so I wonder if his visibility is a little bit low.
You can see Michael Lewis and Warren Montague in the foreground through the haze as this battle is for 5th and 6th. Blake showing the way to his dad at the moment as they come into the south bend, a very tricky turn in the dry, and probably, I'm glad I'm not driving the car in the wet.
Yeah, I mean, it can be fun, but it can also be very hair-raising. A lot of stress for these guys.
Exactly right. This wet weather driving is all about, keeping your wits about you. As the 15 car of Brian Haupt Haupt in the RX-7 as well. Started at the back. He's picked up 3 spots. He's up into 10th position.
Yeah, that's right there on the outside of 1. We've seen a lot of people having a lot of trouble down there. Again, if you get on the brakes down on the traditional dry line, it is slippery. Not appearing to be too slippery for this guy, Alex Mayer. He's continued to set fastest sectors all up and down. This will be a fastest lap again when he crosses the stripe.
We'll see what the interval is between he and the pole sitter, Jeff Dernehl, as they cross the line, and timing and scoring updates. Alex Mayer does indeed reset fast lap of the race, a 2:30.8. Still waiting on Dernehl to come by. There he is, a 2:34.3. That's his best lap of the race, but 4 seconds slower. So Alex Mayer in command here. He has brought the proverbial gun to a knife fight.
Ooh, that's Kristensen with a lot of damage on the back of that Honda.
I believe he has been off backwards into a tire barrier somewhere.
Probably there. It looks like he's re-entering at Oak Tree. He might have spun it under the braking going in there. Those tire barriers are not very forgiving.
Yeah, exactly right.
And there he is, already with the damage coming around Oak Tree.
Yeah, that rear wing deranged and obviously damage to the bodywork. So, and here comes the family battle between the Wilsons. Stacy still showing the way to his father. Or I said Blake should I say, still showing the way to his father. I'll get them figured out. And there's Michael Lewis just in front. So this battle going on.
And there, look at the visibility again, the camera shot. There's a lot of stuff on the windshield of the 47 of Stacy, the dad. But I'm sure if there's one view he wouldn't mind so much, it's his own car with his son at the wheel in front of him.
Or Montague in the Celica, falling back behind these two in 6th spot.
And he's just happy to be out there. He looked very tired after the week he's had, as I mentioned, having some troubles there, fighting some gremlins and things. He had said, we just want to get through this race and make it back home again by Monday next week. It's just how some of the stress gets to you in these long weeks. This is a great event. If you're not here, you got to make your way out to the Runoffs. We're back here at VIR next year. It's a wonderful place. Even in the rain, it's a very cool place to visit. But it can be stressful if you're on one of these teams that goes through a lot of mechanical issues, as those guys have.
Yeah, if you've not been to this beautiful racetrack, I mean, tip of the hat to Connie Nyholm, the owner, and who resurrected this racetrack after it literally had been a cow pasture. It was started back in 1957, but fell on hard times in the late 70s and was shut down as a race facility for a long time until late in the 90s, over 20 years, 25 years, I think. And Connie and her partners, Harry Siegel, just really revitalized this place. This was the first of the road racing resorts, if you will. You can see the villas on the climbing S's there. They've got a skeet shooting range, a pistol range. There's all sorts of off-road opportunities. There's a wonderful world-class restaurant right here on the facility. It's really should be on your bucket list if you've never come down. Right on the North Carolina border, about as south as you can get in the state of Virginia. It's a beautiful facility, and the SCCA recognizing that, coming back to the runoffs for the second time here. And I have a feeling we're going to see VIR on the schedule in the not too distant future. Whoa,
is that
a big
Tony
off.
Ave?
A big off.
Or is that, I can't tell if that's the 91 of Nelson or if that's Ave. It might be Nelson.
That's just at the...
Oh, and Stacy Wilson goes off again on a braking, coming down into one, as he had been just kind of following his son Blake around the track for a couple laps while they were catching up to Lewis. That is Ken Nelson, actually, the 91, I believe, right there.
Yeah.
In the Nissan.
Man, it looked like a heavy impact, but he's able to drive the car away. There's some body work left there against the tires, but obviously he lost it somewhere in the snake. Probably had a bit of a tank slapper and had to chase the car.
Well, that's good. That's good if you're Alex Mayer, because you've built this lead. The last thing you want is a full course while they were up to pulling a car in. So for Ken, unfortunate end to his race, but maybe he can get that car into a safer spot as Stacy Wilson continuing. Tony Rivera looks like behind him on track. That familiar, the old Gary Bachman car, that RX-3, and we are going full course.
Indeed we are. This is, we've been pretty lucky. There's been a new move, I guess, in the club for the Green to Checker initiative, as especially even at this race here back in 2019. There was a lot of yellow flags, a lot of delays, and there wasn't a whole lot of green flag racing in that edition of the runoffs. And, so there's been a movement in the club to try to school drivers into being respectful of their co-competitors and making sure that we end these races in green flag conditions rather than behind the safety car. And I have to say, based on the experience we had here 3 years ago, this has been a revolution, considering the weather that we've had here throughout the weekend. Literally hurricane conditions on Friday afternoon, as we had 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. These drivers have done a magnificent job taking care of themselves and respecting one another. It's been a great deal. So as we're close to half distance and we've got this safety car period, let's take just a break here briefly, as we'd like to thank some of the sponsors that make this broadcast possible.
Introducing the first ever Mazda CX-50.
Focus, guys. We're in a race to the finish, okay?
Here's where the rubber meets the road.
These initiatives move the needle, like, at all?
Well, let's shift gears a minute.
We're really kind of at the apex here.
We need to put the pedal to the metal. We need to nail those hairpin turns, cross that finish line, and take that checkered flag. Woo!
Hit the track with the world's largest motorsports calendar, track day insurance, and more. Haggerty. Let's drive together.
Why race? Because it's in our blood. A love of driving that pushes us as hard on the road as it does on the track. It's why we reinvented the Roadster and put a piece of it into every car we make. It's why we refine, rethink, and refine again. And it's why we'll always engineer to your heart's BPM, not simply an engine's RPM. Why race? Why indeed?
Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. As you can see, it's a very wet racetrack, and we are under a full course yellow for an incident involving Ken Nelson, as he got it all wrong there in the snake. You can see they're working to just repair the tire barrier before we send these cars back underway. Fortunately, Ken was able to drive the car away from the incident, but obviously he had a tank slapper coming through the lower S's, or the snake, and the man on this racetrack who did not want to see the full course yellow come out is the leader, Alex Mayer, in that GT-3 out Audi RS3 LMS TCR car competing against these two brave GT3 machines. And in a dry track condition, Alex Mayer could only qualify, in the 5th row, 9th quickest, some 5 seconds a lap off the speed that the Polesitter Jeff Dernehl was able to put in. But in these conditions, the front-wheel drive Audi with required to run a DOT tire is just about the perfect combination for these weather conditions. And Alex just punched his way through the field. He took the lead on lap 2. So clearly it did not take him long to get to the front here after qualifying in row 5. But now he's going to have to do it all over again because Dernehl's going to be right on his bumper when we go back to green.
Just before this yellow came out, Dernehl was starting to match Mayer sector for sector, so he at least had stopped the bleeding, was able to hold the gap steady. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe Dernehl either just got comfortable with how the car was doing or maybe finally got enough heat in his rain tires. Rain tires still need to be warm to work. Yep. Maybe finally got them soft enough where they were working. Or maybe on the other side, Mayer was starting to scrub through a little bit of his by sliding that car around. Not really as likely as much. I suspect his tires probably holding up a little better. But for Dernehl, if that was the case, he had just gotten heat in him, that heat's probably going to be gone after running behind the safety car here for a lap or two. So let's just see what we do in the restart here. Is the gap really closed down, or is that what a temporary thing, and Mayer's going to have an advantage when they go green again?
They've decided to go black flag all here, which means that they're going to come into the pit lane behind the safety car. At the moment, the clock will continue to run. There's a 40-minute time limit. We're about 17 and a half minutes into that 40 minutes here. But to give the safety workers the opportunity to repair that tire barrier there at the Snake, they want to bring the cars in so the safety workers can do their job and not have to worry about race cars coming by, even behind the safety car.
Now, they cannot work on their cars under this condition.
Correct.
This is not like a green flag condition where they can bring it in and work on it. So there's no tire changing. There is no wrenching. They can't make shock adjustments. If they do, they'll get put at the back when they go back out.
Yeah, so
maybe if you had thought maybe there was a chance and only about 10 cars running, may not be the worst move if there's one adjustment that could get you there, like a massive sway bar change or something. I don't suspect anybody will do that. I don't know that these guys are in a position where they have that golden adjustment to turn, but just to clarify, if they do, they will go to the back.
Yeah, exactly. That's the deal. So they can work on the car, but the penalty to be paid is that they'll be at the back of the line.
Other ones to watch here, when we hopefully we do, but when we get back to a green, are the Wilsons. Blake Wilson in particular had been catching Michael Lewis. Lewis in 3rd, Wilson in 4th. So if we get back to green flag conditions, let's keep your eye on that older Gen RX-7 trying to push into the double-digit gold medal winner, Michael Lewis.
And Stacy Wilson, his father, had an off just before the full course yellow came out, and we're just guessing that it may have been visibility because we've been able to see the windshield of his number 47 car just almost completely occluded by fog, and he went off.
The other was Tone Ave was one of the quickest cars on the track just before that came out. So again, there's some guys back there, Ave, the Wilsons, that are trying to chase down Michael Lewis in 3rd, or even all the way to Dernehl and Mayer. That this race, even if we can get in 3-4 laps, could be one heck of a dogfight.
You can see some kitty litter going down as after that incident involving Ken Nelson, there must have been some fluid down on the track. So that's why we've gone to this black flag condition to give the safety workers a chance to get that oil dried down and get it scrubbed off.
Yeah, we had some oil go down on Friday late in the day when it was pouring hurricane winds, the whole thing, and they weren't using kitty litter in the wet conditions because that would just sort of clump up. It's kitty litter. What they did actually use, though, was Tide. Yes, actual laundry detergent that they were putting down, scrubbing it in, and then power washing it off. Let's see if they pull the power washers out here. So, yes, power washing in a hurricane. So if you had that on your bingo board, you get that space.
Power washing in a hurricane at the National Championships.
Yeah, you can see them working just through the camera shot here. This crew has had a busy, busy week, and we do appreciate all the effort that they put in to keep this going. Fixing tire walls, scrubbing oil off the track. This has been a lot of work to get this kind of event going. We appreciate the folks here at VIR doing it for us.
Yeah, just before we went to break, I was congratulating the drivers here this weekend for doing such a great job in the Green to Checker initiative, but certainly we can't take anything away from the workers here, the safety workers that you're seeing right now, volunteers one and all, doing a fantastic job recovering those cars that have had an issue. And, of course, the corner workers, the Angels in White at every corner station around the track, come here from all over the country to take part in the National Championship runoffs every year, as they are, to be lauded for their dedication. And you've seen in the commercial that's run in our commercial breaks, it is the best seat in the house. And I would urge any of you who are car racing aficionados, get off the couch, come out to a racetrack and, don the whites and work a corner. You'll get some good training, and there's no better place to watch the racing. My colleague Greg Kramer is an active corner worker at the races. And they decided to throw the red flag, which means the clock will stop. And we're just about at half distance. 21 minutes have expired and 19 left to go. And we're working race lap 6 when they come back out. So they'll take one lap behind the safety car, which will count, of course. And when they come back to the green flag, we'll be starting the 7th racing lap. So we'll be about halfway through the lap count and halfway through the time as well.
So just for fun, I figured I'd take a peek at the radar. Some of this stuff's really kind of circling down as the hurricane tail is sort of whipping around here from the north here towards the Carolina border. And it looks like there's actually going to be a bit of an open space that may be forming behind this. So it's possible if this takes 10, 15, 20 minutes or whatever to clean up, that we might see a bit of a hesitation in the mist, and we might see that lifting a little for just a while. Later races could be a very different story, but there may be a bit of an opening coming that this race could at least drain some of the water. It'll probably still be damp, which could always change conditions of this race. So this is definitely not what Alex Mayer wanted, but for everyone else, they're saying that good. Maybe we all have a chance.
Yeah, exactly right. The clockwise rotation around the remnants of Hurricane Ian, and our thoughts are obviously with all the folks affected by that hurricane down on the Florida Peninsula, especially in the Fort Myers area, where the images I've seen on the news are just devastating. So our thoughts with all of the folks down in that part of the country, but also, it goes out to the Atlantic and then takes a left-hand turn and hits the South Carolina coast, and that's where the weather that we had on Friday afternoon and evening, just huge winds blowing, gusty winds, tree branches down. We lost power for a bit. And we're just getting word that this is going to be just a few more minutes long. So rather than us here chatting about the weather, we'll take a break of our own. We'll get an advance warning about 5 minutes before they go back to green flag conditions. So we'll take a pause, and we will be back with you for the exciting conclusion of the GT3 finale here at the 59th running of the SCCA runoffs. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, as the cleanup crew has done a fantastic job cleaning up a little fluid that was spilled down there at the Snake, as Ken Nelson had it off into the tire barrier, but they got the tire barrier repaired. The little oil dry was put down and swept back off the track, and we are getting ready to resume as we're under a red flag. That now the red flag has been withdrawn. The clock will continue to count as we're about halfway through the time limit. It's a 40-minute time limit, or 15 laps, whichever comes first. So we've got about 18 and a half minutes, a little more remaining, and there is your leader, Alex Mayer. We've been talking about him in this TCR car, the Audi RS3 LMS front-wheel drive. You can see how much bigger it is than the rest of these GT3 cars, which for the most part are all tube frame, full scout race cars with silhouette bodywork on them for the most part. And that Audi with the front wheel drive and running street tires has been the class of the field in these conditions.
And I said right before we went to red flag that maybe there'd be an opportunity if the rain were to subside just a little bit, but I was just walking out there to take a peek at the cleanup going on, and as you can see in these shots, it did not subside at all. There's still a lot of water, a lot of standing water around, so conditions are going to maintain about the same as what they were. One thing to note was defending champ Troy Ermish has withdrawn. He's out of the field, never finished a full lap out there, so unfortunately his week come to an end prematurely. And, you know, after the work that he's put in on that car over the last 2 years, he'll be back, I'm sure, but sad way to end his runoffs.
Yeah, we also heard that Joe Kristensen, you saw his car with the damaged rear wing. He has also withdrawn during this black flag situation. So the field beginning to warm themselves back up as they work around behind the safety car. Will go green next time by. The clock continues to count as we have completed 6 laps. This is race lap 7 going on as we speak behind the safety car. We'll be starting lap 8 as the green comes out.
So the battle to watch, of course, is going to be Dernehl and Mayer. Can Dernehl get those tires up to temp quickly and get that water pumping to stay with the front drive TCR car with Alex? The other is going to be the Wilson boys, Blake and Stacy. They were catching Michael Lewis before this all went down. See if they've got the pace afterward. But also, Tony Ave is right behind him. So in 3, 4, 5, 6, Lewis, Wilson, Wilson, Ave. It might be right now in first order in terms of their pace, so we could have a good mixing up here as these laps resume. About 16 minutes left.
Exactly right. Tony Ave and the Acura RSX might also have a bit of an advantage. Tony Ave, of course, a national champ in his own right, a 2-time national champion GT1, most recently in 2020. The GT1, sort of the bigger brother of these, a full tube frame, basically a Trans Am car. 850 plus horsepower.
Yeah, he's a veteran of the Trans Am series, 2-time Trans Am champion, and then comes out here to the runoffs with some of those cars. Takes wins out here in the GT1 category, but seems to have latched on to these GT3s now. Now I think on his 3rd different build in the last 4 years. He had the Honda-powered one that had a spectacular explosion here in 19. He was in the old Wonder Bread car, the old Nissan, a couple of years back at Road America, and now he's out here with this Honda K24 powered car. So he's dabbling to try and find the right platform and the right combination that works for him, but he definitely, you can tell, he wants a GT3 win.
Yeah, and obviously in GT1, not only was he a competitor, but he was a car builder to about half the field as well. So his was the chassis to have for a number of years. And he's still involved in that, but got his toe back into racing and decided he was going to do it for fun and do it in the SCCA. So we're glad to have Tony as a regular competitor in club racing these days. As they fall in file behind this man, Alex Mayer. He's already won a gold medal this weekend in Formula Atlantic, his 2nd Formula Atlantic gold medal. And so he steps into this Tim Top, and we've been talking about it all race long. Look how much bigger that car is than the little GT3 cars behind him.
So twice this week he takes a knife to the gunfight, and once already he's able to take victory. This one, he's got about half this race to go, but he's going to have a dogfight on his hands with a whole bunch of traditional tube frame silhouette cars coming up behind him.
Yep. Jeff Dernehl, who's right behind him, was the pole sitter, and again, in dry track conditions, some 5 seconds a lap faster. So this will be a single file restart. He can accelerate when they get to the cone. You'll see just appearing in off the left side of your screen right there. That's the acceleration point. And
Dernehl wants a draft, and now he pops out, and there he goes trying to get the jump.
Yep, and that's exactly what happens. He's trying to catch it napping, But again, Alex Mayer will have ABS to his advantage, and he'll try to stay down the inside. Dernehl's trying to block that move, and he goes a little bit too deep into the turn. He's trying to stay around the outside, which is where all the grip is. But Alex Mayer able to get the traction down better in that front-wheel drive Audi, and he retakes the spot.
That's the difference right there, that front drive. Even though he's on the less grippy side of the track, the fact that he's got the front steering wheels turning, able to put some power down there. But great move to try that for Dernehl. Also notice behind them, Blake Wilson in that white first-gen RX-7 body, able to jump Michael Lewis at that restart. You can see him now up to third. Lewis fading back quickly.
Yes, that Michael Lewis, a 10-time national champion, most recently in 2020.
That's Ave going up the inside of Blake Wilson.
So Tony Ave now up into that spot.
Like I had said, it seemed to be a bit of an inverse order among that foursome, where the fastest one was Ave at the back of it. Now Ave's at the front of that Ford and got his sights set on Dernehl in front of him.
Tony Rivera in that Mazda RX-3 is a lap down, to the best of my knowledge.
Wow, is he quick right now.
Look at Ave, all going right around Dernehl. Ave up to second. He's going to be the one that Alex Mayer's going to have to watch out for.
And remember, that's still a rear drive car. That's not a front drive like the TCR car is. So he doesn't have any sort of advantage of power coming off the corner other than just his experience and drivability of whatever setup he's got on it. But right now, he's definitely be able to put the power down and start to pull away. We'll see if he can take anything to Mayer out in front. This could get interesting.
Working their way down Madison Avenue as we're back to full speed, or as fast as we could go in these wet track conditions. This has been the story of the runoffs. It has been wet for much of the weekend. We've had a few dry track races, but more than a handful have been affected by the rain. As down the hill comes the 44 of Tony Ave, who qualified that car in third in the dry as the two-time national champ in GT1, making the step into GT3 here as they come down into Hog Pen for the first time at speed after the restart, completing race lap number 8 this time by.
He's clearly quicker than Mayer coming down through the roller coaster. His history of snowmobile racing maybe paying off. Low visibility, low traction. He is throwing that thing around.
Look at the spray coming up on the front of Ave's car as he's following in the wheel tracks there of Alex Mayer. But Mayer retakes the lead.
I had wondered before this red flag condition if maybe Mayer's tires are starting to scrub down a little bit. He seemed to be so comfortable in the early stages and then kind of started to get caught. And right now he's using the wide car, the big giant car track position to try and hold the little Honda behind him.
He's got good grip though in that front wheel drive car. But here comes Ave down to the inside and left hook. It's a pretty common passing opportunity and he takes it. Tony Ave to the front. Can he hold it? That is the question as they go through the snake. Ave now showing his heels to the field for the first time in this race.
Mayer should have a higher straight line speed if he can get that thing off of these corners, including these stretches here as they go under the bridge, down the short straight between the sections of S's. But I tell you what, Ave's tires are pumping a lot of water right now. He's really looking like he's got just a different gear than everybody else.
Tip of the hat to Tony Ave. He holds the fast lap of the race, which was set before this red flag at 2:26.969. Alex Mayer set a personal best at a 2:29.574. So even in these conditions, Tony Ave, who didn't get the greatest start to this race, has had the quickest car.
Ave just set that lap on our first lap of green following the red flag conditions. So he came out of the box ready to race here after the restart and really putting it to Mayer. Mayer's got to find something. He had it in the first half of this race. He had a full stranglehold on it. Ave figured something out before that little bit of a break, and now he's using it to his advantage to try and pull away. But here's the trap speed difference, probably close to 6-7 miles an hour in favor of Mayer. Yeah, about 5.5 miles an hour there this time through.
We understand Michael Lewis may be in the pits. The 10-time national champion, and Stacy Wilson also may be in the pits. We know Stacy was fighting some visibility problems with the windshield fogging on that RX-7.
And he was fighting some issues with fuel injection earlier in the week as well. Whenever those gremlins came back to him, and all he could do now is sit and watch son Blake,
who's currently in 4th spot. Jeff Dernehl is absolutely nowhere after this restart. Just a couple laps, and he's already 4 or 5 seconds behind. We'll get the interval here as we're waiting on him to cross the stripe. As timing and scoring will update. As it was almost the length. Yeah, it's 10 seconds, the difference between Alex Mayer and Jeff Dernehl. Michael Lewis shown in the pits in the 32 car. No, there he is, off the pace.
Yeah, maybe he didn't quite pull in or decided to come back out. Maybe he probably had some visibility issues, so his team able to reach in. Second time that's happened to him this week. He had the same thing in the GT1 race in his Jaguar, where he had low visibility inside of the windshield, all fogged up. That race he retired. This race maybe decided to come on back out, but you can see at least he's got the wiper on the outside going. Not very often you see a full GT car out there with actual working wipers.
Yeah, and you can see even with the wipers going that the fogging of that windshield is just really troublesome.
And the rotary doing its part to dry the track.
Exactly right. The rotary with the fire spitting out of the exhaust.
Let's see if Mayer now can stop the bleeding and hold ground with Ave, but Ave just looking like he has that extra gear, just really flying around here right now. Again, resetting fastest lap, almost 2 seconds faster than Mayer's last lap, 2:24.3 for Ave, and no one else even close.
Only 4 cars on the lead lap. As Blake Wilson, the last car on the lead lap, some 20 seconds behind the leader, Tony Ave, the last time they crossed the line. And Alex Mayer, who before this full course yellow and eventual red flag, looked to have this one in hand. But after the restart, Tony Ave has been a rocket ship.
Yeah, he's figured something out. Like I see, maybe just finally found a good line, a good groove out there. Maybe the tires finally came up to a pressure that works well to pump the water away. But whatever it is, maybe he just ate his Wheaties this morning, but whatever it is, it's working for him as he's trying to leave Mayer behind him, now about 2 seconds back with 7 minutes to go. Probably going to be just around that 3+ laps. We'll see how the timing clock works. We'll let the folks in timing decide what they want to do, but not going to get the full 5.
It has been officially confirmed as a timed race now. We won't have time to get all 15 laps in, as the lap pace obviously significantly slower in this wet track. So 7 minutes coming up now as Jeff Dernehl, the pole sitter, coming to the line, just not able to match the pace of the 2 in front of him.
Yeah, right now the fastest of the rotaries. The rotaries actually struggling a little bit today. The Wilsons both on rotaries, Tony Rivera, and of course Dernehl here, who was our pole sitter. But right now it's Ave in the Honda and Alex, of course, in the turbo Audi out in front of him. Dernehl just doing everything he can to keep this thing on the track. Look at the struggle for grip. He had the same issues coming off of Oak Tree just on the last lap, where you could hear the engine revving and spiking as he was trying to get some power down. Looking like the same kind of things happening here as he goes through NASCAR's 3.
Just going as quickly as he can. Big, wide rain tires. Really struggling for grip in these wet conditions here.
Our 2019 champ right now doing everything he can to hold on to a podium spot.
Yeah, Blake Wilson is about 15 seconds behind him. So if he can keep it on the black part, I think he's probably good to go. As Alex Mayer doing his best to keep up with Tony Ave, but he has fallen 3.5 seconds behind just since the restart here.
Yeah, still watching sectors. Mayer still even on this lap a half a second slower than Ave. So Ave now probably up to about 4 seconds. Probably on comms with his team, spotting for him, telling him where the water is at each end of the track. Mayer probably the same with his guys.
No chance that the rain is letting up as it continues to sock us in here as we're into the late afternoon when the rain was forecast to be the heaviest today, and it has come true. That forecast was exactly right, as here's our leader, Tony Ave, in the Acura RSX.
It might just be too much water actually for the Yokohama Street tire that Mayer is on. A little less water might actually be better for him because of the way the tire is, whereas the tire that Ave is on, being a full wet, loves a little bit deeper water. It pumps it, but sometimes it gets to be too soft, a little bit too squishy, and not enough firm tread blocks there for a drier condition, as he's got a little bobble there coming down through Hog Pen. But these conditions might be just perfect for him, with just a little bit of mist continuing to fall and keeping that water fresh on the track.
Exactly. Well, you can see the amount of spray that he's kicking up, indicating just how much water those rain tires are pumping up off the racetrack.
Yes, he resets fastest third sector and just about matching his fastest lap of the race, just about a 10th slower than. So he's keeping up a pretty good pace where Mayer, really that big car struggle coming down through the roller coaster. And that is the
that's Brian
Haupt.
Haupt.
Just stopped there.
I think he stopped to let the leader by. I think he wanted to give him, he's already a lap down, now 2 laps down, and he didn't want to get in the way of the leaders coming through. So he decided to just stop the car and give him a big, strong point.
We'll be doing the same thing to Alex Mayer here in a second, I'm sure. But look at this, even at these speeds, just tiptoeing through for any kind of grip that Tony can find as he comes down through the snake.
Clock counts down, exactly 4 minutes remaining now at this pace. Getting confirmation from race control, we'll see the white next time by. So we're on the penultimate lap, 1 more to go after this. And Tony Ave, perhaps on his way to championship number 3. This would be his first in GT3 if he's able to hold on.
He's staying off the curb, but he is still carrying a lot of speed, even around South Bend, just keeping a couple extra inches to any bit of curbing. That paint has just got to be like ice right now. But look at how smooth he is under braking, looking for the drier parts of the track. Again, as he exits, look at that, staying off the curb, get the power down, no need to take any chances. He knows his gap right now is about half a straightaway there. 6-8 seconds or so, doesn't need to take those chances.
Tony was in 11th place at the end of the first lap and then picked off a couple spots up to 9th on lap 2, up to 7th on lap 3, and he was in 6th when the yellow flag came out. And then after that, he went from 5th to 2nd to the lead and is drawing away. So that car has just been set up perfectly for these conditions. And Lefty, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think the full wet tire is probably what's given him the advantage here, as this track is just sodden.
Yeah, those full wet Hoosiers might be the choice to have. And if it were just a little less rain, perhaps then Alex might be able to have this race come back to him. Alex now turning his best sectors, but it might be too little, too late to bring the fight to Tony, who's just got 3.2 miles to go.
Coming to the white flag is our leader, Tony Ave. There's the white flag in the starter's hand, indicating 1 lap to go. 17 turns stand between this man and his 3rd national championship.
Now all the water is falling out of the bodywork every time you can see makes a corner. Just so much water out there.
Well-deserved win for Tony if he's able to keep it together for this final lap. Again, a car builder and a racer who's been so instrumental in the success of so many Trans Am teams, including his own. And going club racing, and look, there's our second place runner into the barrier. Alex pushing it a little too much down in the snake, and he is off and into the barrier.
I think that's the outside of 3, if I got that right. And the 15 going off as well. It's Haupt. And that might be a 1 all the way down the hill into the tire barrier.
So a couple offs here on the final lap as Alex Mayer no longer a threat. In fact, Jeff Dernehl may inherit 2nd spot here.
And Blake Wilson may be able to inherit a 3rd spot as he's coming across the stripe to start his white flag lap. That young man in his 2nd runoffs right now trying to do what his father did a year ago and take a podium spot here at the Runoffs. Talked to him before this race, and he just said, hey, we're going to do whatever we can do. We know that if we can finish the race, things happen, and he's 3 miles away from good things happening.
Tony Ave, I'm sure, in radio communication with his crew to let them know that his closest pursuer has gone off course, so he has absolutely no challenge from behind. Jeff Dernehl some 25 seconds behind him, so he can almost coast to the line from here as he climbs the hill for the final time up to the drop off there at the roller coaster.
There's a big sigh of relief right now. He knows he just has to get this thing home, bring this home, because the way he came into this with a Honda 3 years ago here at VIR, it did not end the way he was hoping it would. So right now, there's no one happy around here than Tony Ave. There's Dernehl, who is in a position to take the 2nd spot. Now he's in the grass.
Blake Wilson could be our silver medalist, and Tony Rivera, a lap down, could be on the podium.
Let's see how this plays out. For Ave, though, we know who's going to win this thing.
Checkered flag for Tony Ave, the gold medalist, no doubt on that one, as he was the class of this field after the restart. And so absolutely ran away with it.
Yeah, well, let's take a look and see where Mayer and Dernehl and Rivera and everyone behind them might actually be.
Here
There's
comes Blake. It looks like Blake is going to take the silver medal as he climbs the hill.
I see a sector time, though, for Mayer, but I don't think he's on track behind Wilson. The question is, Mayer and Dernehl, who's ahead on track? We'll get to that in a second. Is Wilson down roller coaster for the final time?
Blake Wilson, second-generation racer. His dad in this race earlier on, who had to retire during the yellow flag as his visibility was just really a problem in his number 47 machine. So Blake Wilson, just as you said, on the podium in only his second runoffs, comes to the stripe. Silver medal for Blake Wilson in the 33 car.
Fist in the air inside that cockpit. That's a happy young man right there.
You betcha. And now the question is, who's going to come across? I think Tony's a lap down.
I think Tony's a lap down. I think Mayer actually has resumed. I'm seeing sector times in Sector 2 popping up for him ahead of Dernehl's Sector 2 time. So there you go. There's Alex on track right there, going down roller coaster.
So Alex will salvage a podium, it looks like.
A couple corners to go, but he does look like he's in that position.
So the bronze medal, perhaps, his second medal of the runoffs, as he comes through the hog pen turn for the final time. I don't think he really had anything for Tony Ave despite his off. So if anything, his mistake cost him second place.
Yeah, it wasn't quite sure where it was. It looked like it was the outside of 3, possibly coming into the NASCAR bend. You could get anywhere near that grass on the edge, and you're going to slide all the way to the tire barrier. But lucky for him, it's a big, durable touring car, and pull himself out of the tires and able to come home with a bronze.
I'm sure he's wondering what would have happened had the yellow flag not come out. As Michael Lewis comes by the line, he is also a lap down. He'll be credited with 6th place honors. Tony Rivera will come home in the 5th spot. We saw him cross the stripe. Brian Haupt, who's had an eventful race as well, in 7th, and he is the last car running. Stacy Wilson, Joe Kristensen, and Warren Montague, all having retired, would be your top 10.
And our pole sitter, for a moment, thought maybe he had a chance at a medal, but a little trip in the grass seemed to send that away. But anytime, again, this field with a lot of attrition to come home in 4th is a pretty good accomplishment in these conditions.
You betcha. He does finish on the lead lap, and those 4 are the only cars on the lead lap, as our winner, Tony Ave, already completing his cool-down lap, and he's headed down to talk to our pit reporter, Hayward Wagner, as we have a bit of a wait for the rest of the field. Here's the unofficial results. Tony Ave, your winner by a huge margin, over a minute, nearly a minute, over Blake Wilson. Alex Mayer comes home in 3rd after leading the first half of this race. Jeff Dernehl, the pole sitter, in 4th. Tony Rivera in a car that he fell in love with, that RX-3, in the 5th spot. Michael Lewis, the multiple national champion, not having the day he had hoped for, also with visibility problems, had to make an unscheduled stop. Brian Haupt, who started at the back of the field, comes home in 7th. Stacy Wilson, Joe Kristensen, and Warren Montague rounding out your top 10 in unofficial results.
There are going to be some giant smiles down there with these 3.
And big smiles, I'm sure, for our winner. And Hayward Wagner has Tony Ave.
Tony Ave, your 3rd SCCA National Championship. What did you find after the restart that nobody else knew about?
Well, on the first lap, I couldn't see. And I used the same procedure we use on the Trans Am cars, but I mean, coming to the green, I couldn't see anything. So I thought, well, that's probably not good. So I drove back to the pits looking out the window, following the grass verge, thinking I'm done. And when I came in the pits, I noticed it was starting to clear off. So I drove through, got going, and it started to clear up so I could see. And then fortunately we had a yellow, and then I just took off.
It looked like you had the car just would go wherever you wanted it to. How hard was it to manage the car, or did you have all the grip you needed?
We drove like that to high school in Hurley, Wisconsin every day in the winter.
I'm pretty sure this is the interview of the week. Well done, sir. Congratulations on the gold. You get to take a victory lap. Enjoy.
Thank you very much.
Tony, a proud Wisconsinite living in North Carolina now, but that may be the quote of the quote of the weekend. That's a great story. That's a great story. As Tony Ave taking the honors, and we're still waiting for our 2nd and 3rd place finishers, who were well back, almost a minute to Blake Wilson on the racetrack, and then another minute to Alex Mayer, As there's Michael Lewis just now making it into the pits. So
we'll see if Stacy Wilson, dad, has already parked the car, and if he's able to be wishing Blake a happy result here as he's in there now.
Hayward's got our second and third place finishers.
I don't think there's anybody on this property are happier right now than Blake Wilson. Blake, how does a silver feel?
Feels great, man. It's the first time I've ever drove in the rain, so man, the car was great, and I can't thank my family enough for being here to just help me, and it's great.
What does it mean to bring home a medal in this family?
Everything. You know, we put everything we got into this, and when we have a result like this, it's great, man.
Congratulations to you on the silver, on a podium here. We're going to see if we can get. Hey, Alex! We're going to go ahead and get Alex. Pull the helmet off real quick for me. It looked like you had it under control before Tony caught up with you. And you keep. But I have a feeling you still had fun.
Oh yeah, it's fun racing in the rain. It's just, you know, on these 200 treadwear tires, when it gets like this, they just hydroplane all over the place. So, you know, having real race tires would have been pretty nice, but, you know, that's the rules.
Indeed. Well, congratulations on the podium. 2 podiums this year at the Runoffs.
Yeah, 2 podiums, but, you know, not good enough.
Talk about a kid that has a smile on his face no matter what happens. Yeah, I mean, he's just as happy to finish with the bronze medal as he was to take his gold medal earlier in the weekend.
Yeah, great week for him. Couple of medals, couple results there. But boy, was it a wet day.
Here are the highlights. Jeff Dernehl down to the inside. Troy Ermish trying to go around the outside, but he may have miscalculated just how much grip there was. As here comes Alex Mayer in that Audi. Just on the first lap, already passing cars right and left. Finally taking over the lead. As the four-wheel drifts it right out to the edge of the track and still manages to hang on to it. There's Stacy Wilson fighting visibility problems, working his way forward. As Blake Wilson passed by Tony Ave there as they work their way around. And here's the eventual winner, Tony Ave, after the restart, making the decisive move on the early leader, Alex Mayer, there at the left hook. And Ave then just disappeared. And as we found out, his problems with pace earlier on, quite simply, he couldn't see. That windshield was so fogged up. But eventually it cleared, and that gave him the opportunity. Following the race, Blake Wilson was issued a 3-spot penalty. That moved Alex Mayer up to second and Jeff Dernehl to third in the final podium results. So Tony Ave, your winner, Alex Mayer finishing second, Jeff Dernehl in third, Tony Rivera, Blake Wilson after the penalty in fifth, Brian Haupt, Stacy Wilson, and Michael Lewis, your top 8. So that'll be the last of this GT3 race for the 59th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. I've been John Phippen. He's been Lefty McLeod. Hayward Wagner down on the pit lane. Thanks for being with us. We hope to see you down the road.